everyone, and welcome to Thorough Newspaper Analysis, which is presented to you by LawSeco. So, today we have two articles that we'll be discussing. The first one is from The Hindu, which is titled as The Problem of Aging Dams. So, the very issue is that most of the dams in India have already aged and now they have become, prone to any kinds of risks and disasters. So, what is the scenario of this and what can be the repercussions of this has been discussed in this article. And the second article is from the Indian Express, which talks about spending in a pandemic. So it talks basically about the previous year, which we have spent, the previous financial year, the report of which has been given in the economic survey for 2020 and 21. So what kind of spending did we take up has been discussed over here. And finally, we have the news and flash column. So if you're also preparing for judicial services examination, definitely have a look at the Lord of the Courses, which is the test prep course for judiciary, which is brought to you by LawSeco. And the link to this course is available in the description box below. Also from its landing page, you can download free study material for your own preparation. Or you can also have a look at our courses for CLAT, All India Bar Exam, SEBI, etc. They're also excellent courses if you're preparing for these exams. So let's see that what is the multiple choice question from yesterday's discussion. Which article of the Constitution of India requires the government to present the budget every year? So the options are Article 111, Article 112, Article 113 or Article 114. You can write down your answer in the comment section below. This is the descriptive question for the day. Indian dams are aging and can potentially threaten country's water security. Comment. So this is the very issue of aging dams in India. So Indian dams are aging and can potentially threaten country's water security. Now here, by aging of the dams, what do we mean? Basically, India is ranked third in the world in terms of building large dams. So till the date of 2020, we had 5,200 large dams in India. Please consider this is only for the large dams, and even some small and minor dams are just innumerous in number. So out of these 5,200 large dams, 1,100 are 50 years old. Now here we'll understand that what do we actually mean by the aging of dams. So out of 5,200 large dams, 1,100 were constructed 50 years ago and 4,400 by 2050. So by the time of 2050, 4,400 of these 5,200 dams will have been, constructed about 50 years ago. So 4,400 dams would actually come on the verge of being old, whereas some are more than 120 years old as well. So 80% of them will become obsolete as they will be 50 to 150 years old. Now see, whenever there is any kind of construction that is taken up, now be it for any kind of dam, any kind of tower, any buildings, road, etc. So these construction or these things or these in this infrastructure has a limited length to its age as well. See, for example, if a road is constructed, you may use best of the materials for the construction of that particular road, but it cannot stay in the same best situation for every year that would follow. So definitely depreciation would take place, some deterioration would take place, and with the coming time and the aging of that particular building or road, it will get destroyed and it will start breaking up. Similar is the case with the dams as well, that when the dams are constructed, they're newly constructed. So definitely they are stronger, they have better material into them. But as and when the time passes, the pressure on the dams also increases and thus the material also gets eroded and destroyed. And so the potential and the health of that particular dam also depletes. So 80% of them will become obsolete as they would be 50 to 150 years old by 2050. So examples of these are Krishna Raja Sagar Dam, which was constructed back in 1931, so it already is 90 years old. Then we have the Mettur Dam, which was constructed in 1934, which is now 87 years old. So you can understand that what could be the depleting condition of these dams and how dangerous is it to really make use of them even in the current date, because are they even equipped to hold that much of water within themselves now or not? And if at all, you can imagine if any particular dam breaks down, then the flood actually submerge the entire area that falls nearby. So here there was also a paper by Rohan D'Souza in 2003 which observed that siltation rate in Bhakra Dam is 139.86% higher than originally assumed. Now, what actually do we mean by siltation? We'll understand in the next very slide. So, according to this paper, the siltation, basically it is the settling down of the sediments, but we'll understand into a better sense in the next very slide. So, it observed that the siltation rate in Bhakra Dam is 139.86% higher than the originally assumed. So if at all you try to understand that there is a glass of water that can only hold, for example, 100 ml of water. Now, if you're trying to put in more and more and more of water into it, then you can understand what will be the situation. Now, let's understand it with the example of siltation. We take a glass of water which could earlier hold 100 ml of water, but now into this 100 ml of water we also put, for example, let's say 40% of sand. So we have put in 40% of 40 ml of 40 quantity of sand into it. So do you think that even now the water capacity of this glass would be 100 ml? Definitely not, because a lot of space and capacity is taken up by this sand. So this is the very process of siltation which takes place behind the dams as well, which reduces the water holding capacity of the dams and increases the pressure on those dams. So this actually has also halved its life from 88 years to 47 years because of this huge level of siltation. So the Indian reservoirs are designed with poor understanding of sedimentary science. Now this is the one thing that we need to understand, because whenever water flows, we see that the siltation or sediments are brought along with it. But unfortunately, the very construction of dams in India is done not keeping in mind this process of sedimentation, and thus this becomes a major problem within very few years. So these are the probable consequences of these aging dams, that when soil replaces water in the reservoirs, that is the sedimentation occurs in the reservoir, supply gets choked. The cropped area will receive less water and time as time progresses, because as we know that why the dams are constructed, they are constructed firstly, they could be for the hydroelectricity generation, and further for keeping the water reserved in case we need to use them for any cropped area or any fields. So definitely the water that will be received by these cropped areas will reduce with time. The net sown water area will shrink in size and depend on rains and groundwater. So definitely, if the water from dams is not coming properly, then we will have to depend on the rain and groundwater, which in our situation both are depleting with the coming years. Then the crop yields will get affected, reducing farmers' income, and more frequent floods will also take place. Example, Bharuch, Kerala and Chennai. So most of these floods have also taken place due to the siltation or the sedimentation of the dams. Now, this was the very process of siltation or sedimentation what we were discussing. So see, for example, this is the dam that has been constructed. So this is the entire reservoir of the dam. Now here from this side, the water flows and is kept and is reserved by the dam. But as we know that the rivers don't only carry water with themselves, but also various kinds of silts and sedimentations, like there could be very tiny particles of soil, sand, and very tiny pebbles, and even some large stones as well. So when the water flows to this direction, the sedimentation starts from here. So the the larger sediments, they tend to stay back, but the little ones, which may be very little, tiny size of stones or pebbles or dust and sand particles, they get accumulated over here. So now, as and when the time would increase and the water would start flowing towards the dam, here this siltation will move more and more towards this area. And now, as you can see that earlier this entire area was used to reserve the water, but now since the sediments, huge amounts of sediments and siltation would move towards this, so slowly and slowly it will be covered till this level, then this level, and it might reach till over here as well. So this firstly will decrease the water holding capacity of this dam, yes, of course. And secondly, just imagine that huge it is not just 1 or 2 kgs, it is into tons, because the dams are huge. So just imagine that such huge amount of siltation is pushing against the wall of the dam. So don't you think that the pressure on the dam will also increase, further keeping in mind that the dams are also aging in their construction date? So this is the very problem which can actually reduce the capacity of the dams, increase the chances of dam breaking down and causing flood, and various other kinds of consequences which we discussed in the previous slide. So this is the entire process of sedimentation or siltation of dam. Now let's understand about the economic survey or the spending which had taken place in the financial year, previous financial year. And although we are into this financial year, which will finish into March, on March 31st. So firstly, as we had already discussed, let's understand once again that what actually is the economic survey. always keep in mind that there are two more most important documents when it comes to the financial system in the country. First is the economic survey, and the second is the budget. The economic survey gives us an understanding of the spending and the health of the economy in the previous financial year, whereas the budget gives us an estimate and the spending estimate which we'll be doing in the coming financial year. So basically, economic survey 2020-21. So that is why this is the latest economic survey which has made an analysis of the spending and the economic health for the financial year 2020 to 21. As now, after March 31st, we'll be starting with a new financial year, which will be from 21 to 2022. So the economic outlook for coming fiscal has been estimated in this economic survey for that the real GDP will grow at 11% in the next fiscal. So keeping in mind the situations which prevailed in the previous financial year, the real GDP to be coming up in the terms of the next financial year is estimated to be 11%. So it is 15.5% of the nominal GDP in line with the IMF's 11.5%. Now here, nominal and real GDP, these are also two different concepts, wherein the nominal GDP is the calculation of the growth or the production or the GDP per se of a country, which is estimated as per the previous year. So, whatever there was in the previous year as compared to it, what will be in the next year, that is called as the nominal GDP. Whereas when we talk about the GDP growth as regard with the base year, so every time, we have a base year according to which we calculate the fluctuation in the GDP. Not necessarily, it does not really have to be just the preceding year. So, for example, if we are calculating the GDP for 2020, the base year could be 2017. So, if we are calculating the GDP growth of 2020, keeping in mind the GDP or comparing it with the GDP of the base year, which, for example, was 2017, that would be considered as the real GDP. And if we are just calculating the GDP growth on the preceding year, that would be like if we are doing it for 2020, so if it would be 2019, the previous year, then that would be called as a nominal GDP. This I am just giving you so that you have a better idea about what we are discussing over here. So 15.4% was the nominal GDP growth, and which is in line with the International Monetary Fund's 11.5%. So this will make India the fastest growing economy in the world, and only 2.4% above the 2019 to 2020 level and 10% below the level it would have reached without pandemic. So had the pandemic not have taken place, this would be the level. This would have been the level of growth, which ultimately definitely did not take place because there was such an economic blow on the entire economic sector of the country. So according to CRISIL, or it is basically the Credit Rating Institute or Credit Rating Agency in India, it is said that a loss of 12% of GDP had taken place due to the pandemic. So there are views on the overall fiscal stance, that what will be the overall financial stance or overall financial growth. The possibility of subnormal monsoon in 2021, because it said that in the past 20 years, India saw, as compared to last 20 years, last year, India saw a better monsoon due to which the agricultural growth took place. And if the same continues for the year 2021 as well, then there will be, if there is a subnormal monsoon, then there is a possibility of growth as well. So India has seen more than 2 consecutive years of monsoon only once, that was last year. So India had good monsoon in the last 2 years, which had actually helped in the agricultural growth, and it supported 40% of the population as well. As in, this agriculture supports 40% of the Indian population. So the survey recommends balancing immediate need to support growth with fiscal prudence over the medium run. So it says that we should not only focus upon the immediate needs of the economy, but also we should look into the medium term. Now, as we say, short term, medium term, and long term plans, right? So if we talk about the short term plans, definitely we need to do a lot about it, but also they should be paced up along with the medium term plans as well. So the growth leads to debt sustainability in the Indian context, but not necessarily vice versa. So whenever there is the growth, so it also leads to the situation where we can deal with the debts also in a better situation. But definitely it is not a vice versa situation in all the context. Then if we talk about the medium term potential of the economy, that what in the medium run or in the medium sense, what is the potential of the economy? So the medium term growth prospects will be shaped by supply side reforms. So what are the supply side reforms? Like you, I, and every other individual who is the consumer of the goods and services. For example, we go to a shopping mall, we buy clothes, shoes, grains, various kinds of biscuits and everything that we have to consume. So everything or every change that is taking place on this side of the economy is called as the supply side economy. Please, my bad. See, it is basically the supply side reforms are the from the sides of the producers who are providing these particular things. So yes, just let's understand. Like for example, you and all our consumers are going to a shopping mall, and we are demanding for a particular thing. So that would actually incentivize the producers to produce more, and thus the supply side, that is the supply of the particular goods or services, will have to change, and it might have to increase with the growing demand of the people. So that is why supply side reforms will be important for medium term growth. Infrastructure development, like everything, we have the buildings, we have the corporate sector, corporate sector as in the real estate sector, buildings, roads, construction, etc. Then development in the other sense, like for in the terms of education, in the terms of skill development, etc. And productivity linked incentives. So basically this PLI scheme is a very new scheme which has been brought in by the government, which basically supports the plan of Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat, wherein it will incentivize the foreign producers to come into India and make productions and manufacturing over here. Like very recently, Apple will also start its manufacturing in India now. So this also is a part of the productivity linked incentive, which actually will increase the manufacturing sector in the country, which ultimately will help increase the employment generation as well. So it also argues for further easing of restrictions, ease of doing business, that we need to make the environment more conducive and more favorable for the people to carry out a business. Less regulation, more supervision and privatization. Sharper focus on research and development to strengthen the economic machinery. So the withdrawal of forbearance once growth is back, followed by an asset quality review and another round of recapitalization of banks. So I know that these terms would be sounding very hefty for you all. Basically, what we have to do is that asset quality review is that, see, whenever there is a business, it has some assets and it has some liabilities. For example, if this business is making some kind of money, it is selling its product into a large area of market, that definitely is adding to the money or the value of that business. So that will be an asset. But if that particular company or business has to pay some amount to any in the form of any loan or some kind of debt to any particular agency, that definitely is a liability on that company. So we should be doing the asset quality review. That is, what quality of asset do the companies and businesses in the India hold, and how they can be increased fold. Some and other is that we should have another round of recapitalization of banks. So by capitalization, simply we mean investing money. So the banks should be recapitalized. They should be, their capacity to hold and lend money should be increased, and thus recapitalization of banks should take place. Now in this, various international institutions can also participate, like the World Bank, IMF, etc. And also even the Reserve Bank of India, which is the central bank for India, can also make major changes. So here you can go through this. The cabinet approves the PLI, which is the productivity linked incentive scheme, in 10 key sectors. You can go through these sectors as well. With this, let's see what do we have for news in flash today. 45th Raising Day of Indian Coast Guard. Since its inception in 1977, Indian Coast Guard has saved over 10,000 lives. Lives are apprehended around 14,000 miscreants. So as we know, basically Indian Coast Guard is just like the police for the coasts of India. So today we have the 45th Raising Day of the Indian Coast Guard. So from 7 surface platforms, the Indian Coast Guard gas growth to become the 4th largest coast guard in the world, with 156 ships and 62 aircraft. Second, instability in Italy. Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte has resigned after a small coalition partner, Italia Viva, withdrew their support following differences over the way government was tackling the outbreak and spending of the 243 billion European dollars from the European Union virus fund. So this was the largest was actually given to Italy, and it has been claimed that it is not spending it very nicely and in the right direction. So the Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte has basically resigned. So this was all for the day. We hope it was a good session for you. Thank you so much for staying tuned with LawSikho. If you wish to download the PDF for today's slides, you can join a Telegram group, the link to which is there in the description box below. Thank you.